It's my coach used to say it's go-to time. It's go time now.
Welcome to the 20th episode of the Kyle Olson Show. We're officially in the home stretch of the 2020 presidential campaign, and it's not coming a moment too soon. I don't know how much more I can take of Joe Biden. It's not that I just disagree with his opinions, because I do. It's that he just stands there and says things that completely contradict what he has said in the past, and not things from 20 years ago, but 3 weeks ago. It's one thing to evolve your positions and opinions based on new information. I don't have a problem with that. I've done that. I think everybody's done that. That's a mature, rational thing to do. Here is Joe Biden during the Democratic National Convention 3 weeks ago.
We'll have a national mandate to wear a mask, not as a burden, but as a patriotic duty to protect one another.
That was pretty clear, wasn't it? Here's a few days later.
It's about saving Americans' lives. So let's institute a mask mandate nationwide, starting immediately, and we will save lives.
Got it? Mask mandate nationwide. It doesn't get any more clear than that. Here's where things get wobbly.
But so you don't see, you had suggested there would be some kind of a federal mandate about masks. So now you're saying encourage people?
No. Here's what I suggested was I would ask every person in authority. There's a question whether or not a president under the Constitution could mandate everyone wear a mask. And remember, all during the primary, I'd have a lot of people telling me I would, by executive order, do. I'm a constitutionalist. You know, you can't do things the Constitution doesn't allow you the power to do.
Joe Biden's a constitutionalist. I bet you didn't know that, did you? It came as a surprise to me. Maybe he took Barack Obama's classes on the Constitution. Anyway, before I digress, now listen to this from earlier this week.
Well, I hope we can trust the governors, but here's the deal. The federal government, there's a constitutional issue whether the federal government could issue such a mandate. I don't think constitutionally they could. Well, I hope we can trust the governors, but here's the deal. He
went from definitively saying he wants a national mask mandate to I'm a constitutionalist and there's some constitutional questions about it to it's unconstitutional. Don't you think if you were a presidential candidate, especially one that's been in this business for over 20% of the life of this country, that you'd figure out if your proposal was constitutional and do that before you say anything publicly? Do you think the person who wrote this speech and fed it into the teleprompter saw the previous statements? Or maybe they thought nobody would care and the media, of course, wouldn't say anything. Need more? Here's Joe Biden on February 28th.
But I want to take a moment to say it's not a time to panic about coronavirus.
Here's a mashup put together by Tom Elliott from Grabien of Democrat politicians and their appointed officials back in February.
The risk to New Yorkers for coronavirus is low, and our city preparedness is high.
This should not stop you from going about your life, should not stop you from going to Chinatown and going out to eat. I'm going to do that today myself.
Come to Chinatown. Here we are. We're, again, careful, safe, and come join us.
There is no concern at this time for coronavirus in our region.
The Department of Sanitation is ready for Mardi Gras 2020.
The facts are reassuring.
We want New Yorkers to go about their daily lives.
But there's really no need to panic and to avoid activities that we always do as New Yorkers. We are a hardy people.
Americans do not need to panic. What I would suggest, however, is that Americans take this as a wake-up call for seasonal flu.
There's very little threat here. This disease, even if you were to get it, basically acts like a common cold or flu.
So we're telling New Yorkers, go about your lives, take the subway, go out, enjoy life, and certainly not to miss the parade next Sunday. I'm going to be there.
If you had to, would you close down the borders?
No.
We need to be honest about the American people, with the American people, about the fact that we can't keep people coming here from China.
And transmission is not that easy. I think there's been a misperception that coronavirus hangs in the air waiting to catch you. No, it takes direct person-to-person contact.
We also know that if it were likely to be transmitted casually, we would be seeing a lot more cases.
Right, because this is New York and you're in elevators and trains with everybody all the time.
We know a lot of this information is incorrect now, but you know what? It was the information these people had at the time. They were learning and processing in real time. It was how they and we understood the virus. Frankly, I think we should cut them some slack for that. So a kerfuffle erupted on Wednesday when a clip of an interview President Trump gave to Bob Woodward on February 7th was released. In it, he essentially acknowledged that he was not going to say things that might create a panic. Interesting, Bob Woodward decides to release it after Labor Day, right before an election, and not say March, when it could have saved lives and altered our course. But that's what happens when you deal with people like Bob Woodward. Anyway, here was Joe Biden's response on Wednesday.
We just learned from the Washington Post columnist Bob Woodward that the President of the United States has admitted on tape in February he knew about COVID-19 that had passed through the air. He knew how deadly it was. It was much more deadly than the flu. He knew and purposely played it down. Worse, he lied to the American people. He knowingly and willingly lied about the threat it posed to the country for months. He had the information. He knew how dangerous it was. Now, while this deadly disease ripped through our nation, he failed to do his job on purpose.
Then, after all of this, all of these conversions, all of these transformations and gaslighting from Joe Biden, he has the audacity to tweet, quote, "You deserve a president who tells you the truth." Yes, we do. And you ain't it. Will Joe Biden hold Nancy Pelosi, who was in that mashup, to the same standard? What about Bill de Blasio, who was also there? What about his own advisor, Ron Klain, who was also in that mashup? No, he won't do that because it's just a desperate political attack. And the media will not hold him accountable. Here's another interesting story from this week. This is WZZM in Grand Rapids.
Your voice, your vote now. The most recent leader of the Republican Party in the state of Michigan says he's choosing the Democrat for president this year. Rick Snyder, just the latest high-profile member of the GOP to say he's voting for Joe Biden instead of President Trump.
This doesn't come as much of a surprise. Rick Snyder didn't like Trump in 2016. Rick Snyder was a John Kasich guy during the primary and was very vocal in the general election that he didn't like Trump. What makes it different this election is Rick Snyder is the guy Flint activists have accused of poisoning black people in the city when the emergency manager made the decision to change the water supply. Remember that? I thought it was an unfair attack at the time, but that was their position. Here was Michael Moore in 2016.
I think the people of Flint are ready to come out of their homes right now and go down there. They want their government back. They want their mayor back. They voted for these people, and they want this governor arrested. They want this governor prosecuted, and thank God the Obama administration now has got the U.S. District Attorney in Flint investigating what's going on, investigating the governor, and our hope is that this governor will be prosecuted for the reckless behavior and for knowing for a full year that this was toxic water.
So now the guy progressives hate so much has endorsed their candidate for president. What to do? What to do? Joe Biden's campaign is so tone-deaf to all of this, he has embraced the endorsement. They touted Rick Snyder's USA Today op-ed to reporters. They want the Rick Snyder endorsement because they think it will peel off Republicans in Michigan. Let me ask you a question. Did you like Rick Snyder? Did you like voting for Rick Snyder? Would Rick Snyder's endorsement sway you in an election? Joe Biden's campaign apparently thinks it will. But what they don't realize, which should be very telling about their tone deafness for how people really feel in Flint, is that Rick Snyder's endorsement should backfire on Biden. The Trump campaign should pump advertising into the Flint market with that endorsement because residents will turn against Biden. If Trump can flip Flint, he'll win Michigan. To me, it's really that simple. Some progressives get it. Michael Moore tweeted, quote, "The Biden campaign, in an effort to convince Flint voters to stay home on November 3rd and lose Michigan again, happily announced and embraced the endorsement of former Governor Rick Snyder, the man who poisoned Flint's water, 10,000 children with permanent brain damage, countless dead. Shame." Will the Snyder endorsement affect Joe Biden's standing in Michigan? We'll know in a few weeks. This is the Kyle Olson Show.